little jog, just me and all the red lights. Keep on driving and driving.
Good morning and welcome to today's show. Now, today's show, I want to be going through how you are selling your products or services. Because when you're starting your business online, this is probably the one thing that you really want to start doing, because it's going to be how you're going to start making money 24/7. So that's what we're going to be going through in today's show. Hi, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jason Kruger and I help heart-centered businesses build and automate their online marketing systems. Now, as I said, in today's show, I wanted to go through selling your products and services online, because there's just so many different ways to do it. And people just seem to get stuck with how to do this because there's different ways to do it, as I've just said. You know, you can sell it from your website, you can build a shop. Which way do you go? So first of all, I think when you're starting your business online and you're going to start selling your products and services online, I think there's a few things that you need to first look at, because there's different ways to sell these products or services online. And what do I mean by that? Well, selling a digital product is quite different to selling a physical product, for instance. If you're selling physical products, then you really need a proper online shop, and you have to have so much other stuff around this. And I think this is where people don't realize what a monster it could actually turn out to be, because there's just so many things to think about. So when you're selling physical products, yes, you can have a complete storefront online, showcase all the products that you're selling. But one, how do you take payment? And secondly, how do you actually fulfill that order? Are you fulfilling it yourself, or do you have someone else fulfilling for you? Because depending on how big your online shop is, yes, you could fulfill it yourself. You get the order, you go pick it off the shelf and send it off to the customer. But what happens if you've got a massive shop and you have over 100 products or over 1,000 products? Can you spend all your time just fulfilling orders? Because once you start getting busy, orders should hopefully start flying in. And you might end up having to employ someone just to fulfill the online orders. And this is a lot of things that you do need to think about. And there's a lot of other things you need to think about, and I will get to that in a moment. Because yes, taking money, fulfilling order is probably the main part of it, but you also have a few other things as well. Now, selling digital products is slightly different, because depending on what it is, you can automate that whole process. If you're selling an ebook, for instance, someone can just go on there, click on the buy button, go through the checkout process, and you just email it to them. It's quite simpler than having to fulfill a physical product. But again, you need to make sure you have your systems set up correctly for this, because if you don't, people are going to buy and they're not going to receive their order. And there's, again, different ways to doing all of this. So let's break it down, first of all, of what it is that you're going to need when you are building out these systems. Well, again, if you're selling digital or physical products, you need to have some sort of storefront, somewhere where someone can actually see that product, maybe find out a bit more information about it. And then when they decide to purchase, they buy that, click on that buy button, go through the checkout process, and then you fulfill it somehow. So there are different ways of doing it. And it also depends on the budget you have to start this all out, because you can go with a system like Shopify, Woocommerce. If you're more of a creative, you could go for something like Etsy, where they already have all the tools there for you. All you then need to do is fulfill that order. But with everything, they do have monthly fees and possibly other fees as well. So when you are looking to sell your products online, you do need to take all of this into consideration and actually do the research and decide what it is that I am selling, and then do research to see which is going to be the best way to do it. Because there are, like as I said, these systems where they have virtually everything set up for you. You just need to design it, put your products on there, and away you go. And with everything, just because you've built it doesn't mean people are going to come. And I think there's a myth out there that, you know, I'm just going to build a website, or I'm going to build my online shop, and people will just find me and I'm going to be a millionaire within a year. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And you can see from a lot of people out there that are doing it that, you know, they will have a lot of stories to tell themselves on how they got this all set up and the hard work that went into getting it to the stage they are at. Because just building it doesn't mean people are going to come. There's a lot of other marketing, getting the word out, showing people what you're selling, but then also the experience that you are giving them when they are purchasing. If it's a hard experience, and what I mean by that is they're having to jump through so many different hoops just to buy a product from you, people aren't going to buy. They're just going to be turned off by that. You want to make it as seamless as possible so that they can just come back and buy more from you. And that's where these other systems come in, because they already have this all set up. The only thing with those is that sometimes you are restricted by the features that they have. And again, a lot of these systems already have a hang of a lot of features in there. But if you want to have things like subscriptions, for instance, there's always an additional cost to those. And it's a monthly cost. It's not just a one-off cost. So it can start becoming quite expensive every month just to keep your shop running. And that's why I say, decide what it is that you're trying to sell and then see what the best place to do it. If you're selling digital products, there are very simple ways of doing it. You could just sign up to PayPal, for instance. Put a PayPal button on your website. They click, they buy, and then you either send them a welcome email manually, or you set up some other integrations. Now, when it comes to selling digital products, the setup is probably a little easier than setting up a proper physical product store, because you already have all the digital assets. And when it comes to products, you can sell services this way as well, because people just need to, pay the fee online. You get the notification and you can just send them an email. And again, it depends on what you're selling and how many you expect to sell. Because if it's a service where people are limited, so maybe it's a workshop or a one-to-one session with you where they pay for that, and then you then send them a welcome email, you could probably do that manually. But if you do want to automate it, again, different ways of doing it. Some calendar booking platforms, if you're selling your time, so a consultation, for instance, you can use the online booking systems to take the payment as well. And that then just saves a lot of other systems that you need to set up, because they will take the payment, they book their appointment, and it will send them the reminders for that as well. The only problem with that is if you do have a CRM system, is getting the information into a CRM system, and you might need to look at other integrations for that. But once you've set that all up, then you can sell as many as you like, and it will be all automated for you. And that's where I think some of the differences between physical and digital products lie. because once you've sold the physical product, there's a lot more processes afterwards to make sure that someone receives their product, whereas a digital product or service, it's just that, it's digital. So there's no physical handling of anything to make sure that you can deliver that. Now, when you are taking money online, there's probably various ways to take money online. But if you're just getting started out, you don't want to be looking at these bigger services where they are charging you monthly fees. And again, it depends on what you're selling. So when you're starting online and you do need to have somewhere to take money, and you do need a way to potentially upsell people. So that's what happens more in the online marketing world, where someone buys something and you can offer them something more, a bump product, etc. If you want to create some kind of funnel that way, then you probably will need a system like Samcart, Thrivecart. They all have this built into their systems, but at a cost. Samcart, I think, is $99 a month, and that's just for Samcart. If you'll then need to use something like Stripe or PayPal, and there's a fee for every transaction on that as well. So all of a sudden, it can become quite expensive. But you do need some kind of payment processor, and that's where things like Samcart come in. Samcart is more your checkout system. Stripe, PayPal is your credit card processing. That's the thing that actually charges the money. And I think that's where people get a little bit confused on how all these systems work. PayPal is slightly different to Stripe because PayPal have their own system where you can just create a PayPal button, put that on your website, and take money fairly quickly using PayPal. But again, that comes at a bit of a cost, because their transaction fee is 2.9% plus 30p for every transaction. Whereas Stripe, if you're based in Europe, it's 1.4% and then 20p. But if you then take a transaction where the person is not in Europe, then that is where it's going to be 2.9% plus 20p. So if you are in Europe and you're doing a lot of transactions, Stripe is a very good option. But with Stripe, sometimes you do need to have something to connect it with so that people can actually pay for your product. And this is where, again, depending on how you want to do it, there are lots of different options. Because if you're selling digital products, there are different plugins that you can put on your website, and this is if you have a WordPress website. There are different plugins that you can put in there where you can just put something like a button like PayPal on your site, and then they'll go through the Stripe process to take that money. But if you're going to create physical stores, a store that sells physical products, you can do that on your WordPress website if you have a WordPress website using Woocommerce. And that's the one that I recommend, and I build all my client e-commerce sites with. I use Woocommerce. But you don't just need to use Woocommerce to create e-commerce sites. You can use it to just create checkout pages. I'm doing that for myself at the moment, and I'm doing it for another client where we just set up checkout pages, and that now integrates into all her systems. And that's, again, looking at what you want your systems to do. Because if you need something to integrate with your CRM system and then possibly your accounting package like Xero, Samcart, Thrivecart, they don't have those functionalities built in. There might be workarounds with an application like Zapier, where it will connect various applications together, but you sometimes don't get all the functionality that you need, or it's going to be just limited of what it can bring across. Whereas with Woocommerce, you can create whatever you like, and that's what we're busy doing at the moment. We can create different types of checkout pages with the order bumps, upsell, all of that. We can do all of that within Woocommerce. And the benefit of that is using another plugin, we can connect it up to the CRM system, which in this case is ActiveCampaign. But we can also connect it to Xero. So as soon as someone makes a transaction, that information goes directly into Xero. So it's easier to track everything. And like I said, you need to sit down and look at your wish list of what you want your system to be able to do. Sometimes you are limited about the funds that you have at the time. And if you've got a little bit of time and a bit of know-how, then Woocommerce is a great option. I have created a video on creating checkout pages using Woocommerce on my YouTube channel. So if you do want to have a look at that, please go to jasonkruger.com/YouTube, and that will take you to my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find the video on there where I actually show you how I've created these checkout pages and all the plugins, etc. that I have used. Yes, you do have to buy some plugins, but they are a yearly cost, and it's a fraction of the cost if you're using something like Samcart, where it's a monthly fee. I think the fee for some of these is the same as 1 month of Samcart, and that's a yearly cost, not a monthly cost. So once you have all your e-commerce site set up, or you have your digital product set up for people to be able to pay, there are other things that you do need to keep in mind that you will need, and that is going to be all the policies that you're going to need to protect yourself and your business. And you're going to need things like privacy policies, cookie policies, return policy if it's a physical product, refund policy. And that especially if you're doing digital products, because there's no return policy per se. Yes, people might ask for their money back, but you should have a refund policy that states clearly when people can actually ask for a refund. But also make sure that when people are going through the checkout process, that you can have some sort of terms and conditions on there as well that people have to read, because you can state a lot of this information in your terms and conditions. Now, if you're wondering, well, where can I find this type of information? I'm not a law expert. These are some of the documents that I think you definitely need on your website, and there's probably more. But if you really need to look into this more, then please Google Suzanne Dibble. She's a legal expert when it comes to these sorts of things, and she also has a small business legal academy which you can go and check out. So if that is something that you're going to need, then please Google her and look at her small business legal academy. It's fantastic. She has all the documents that you're going to need on there. They're all templated, so you can go through that and fill out the information, and you'll learn a lot more of what you're going to need on your website. So I want to keep this one fairly brief today, just to make you aware of what your requirements might be when you are looking to sell anything online. You're going to need some kind of payment processor, and like I said, the main ones are Stripe and PayPal. There are loads of others out there that just do payment processing, but they do have monthly fees, and I'm not going to confuse anyone by listing all of those. You can Google those if you wish. So you're going to need some kind of payment processor, but you're also going to need some kind of checkout process as well, and a way to actually showcase your products and your services. And there are so many different ways to do that. Third-party systems like Shopify, BigCommerce, Etsy. Those are all systems that you can use to showcase your systems, your products and your services, but they do have monthly fees. You could use Woocommerce. Now, Woocommerce straight out of the box is completely free. You can use that to create a very simple store or simple checkouts just using WooCommerce. If you want to style them more and add other features like subscriptions, etc., then yes, you will have to buy extra plugins for that. But for me, the difference between using WooCommerce and these other stores is the flexibility and the way that I can build the stores. I can make them look like the client's branding, their website, so that it all ties in together. Sometimes you can't do that on these other systems. And then finally, the legal requirements. Have a look at all the documents that you are going to need to put on your website. You don't want to fall foul by not having those documents, because if you're processing people's data as well, you need to have some kind of privacy policy on there to showcase how you process their information, where you store it, etc. And you need that anyway, but you are going to need other policies on there as well if you are selling a lot of products online. So I hope that this quick little tutorial on what you need when you're setting up and looking to sell online, the requirements and things that you need to think about. And if you have got any questions regarding anything that I've covered today, then please leave a comment down below and I will make sure that I answer it for you. Have a great weekend and I'll see you on the next one.